Good morning and welcome to the news on New Day. We're coming to you live from the John Hammond Street at Kanda here in Accra. My name is Judith Awoche Tando. In the headlines this morning, minority in Parliament threatens to occupy Bank of Ghana should the governor fail to resign in 21 days over the 60 billion cedi loss in its 2022 annual report. Also this morning, leaders of Niger's ruling military junta say they can't accept high-level diplomatic visit because they would risk their security. Plus, alcohol intake in Ghana increases by 23% in the last 2 years, with the youth aged 15 to 34 being most prevalent. And on the international front, survivors of the Rwandan genocide say they're stunned by the UN judges who ruled that a war crime, a suspect's trial, be suspended because he has dementia. Details of these stories and many more coming up shortly. Please do stay with us. Now, first story, a private legal practitioner, Martin Pebu, has received praise former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapaah for acknowledging ownership of the $1 million and 300,000 euros that were stolen from her house. He maintained that the claim advancing the ownership to her deceased brother was an insult to Ghanaians' intelligence.
You see, yeah, the truth is not coming out because that story that belongs to the deceased brother. I don't know the deceased brother, but Mr. Okan say, you know, the publication Ghana Web did and other sources showing that neighbors had come out to say no, the deceased brother couldn't have owned that amount of money, and that the deceased brother, with due respect, was a shoemaker in circumstances where they didn't think he owned that amount of money. We are not saying shoemakers can't make that much. There are some who are richer than that. But in the case of this particular shoemaker, they say no, he couldn't have owned that much. Then you saw the other angle where the widow, now that they said the money belonged to the deceased brother, you see the widow has retained a lawyer who is about suing to recover the money. So now Madame Dapaah is beating a retreat. Yes, she will have to beat a retreat because the lawyer is preparing to sue. And that one too is been published. I also read it online. You say, yes, so it's good that Madame Dapaah is owned up, that is it, because the other one was just belittling our intelligence as citizens. It was just too insulting to us. It just didn't add up.
We'll stay on this issue, and 5 of the accused persons facing trial for allegedly stealing money from the home of former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapaah have been remanded by an Accra Circuit Court. Now, 2 accused lactating mothers have each been granted a 1 million cedi bail with 3 sureties to be justified. Lord Iduasari, who was in court, has the rest of the details.
Father of Patience Boche, one of the lead suspects in the case, Kweku, was left off the hook after prosecution replaced the previous charge sheet with a new one upon the advice of the Attorney General. Lead prosecutor DSP Emmanuel Nyamiche told the court that more housing properties and 2 Honda Acura automobiles valued at over 600,000 cedis had been discovered as part of items bought with the stolen monies. Per the new charge sheet, Patience Boche, Sarah J., Benjamin Soa, Malik Dauda, Christiana Echab, and her husband Job Pomery, as well as Yaha Sumaila, an excavator operator, have been charged with various counts of stealing offences. Prosecution prayed the court for a short adjournment to enable them arrest the 8th accused person, Franklin Sarakpo, who they say is on the run. The court remanded 5 of the accused persons, having granted a 1 million cedi bail to 2 others.
Though their pleas have not been taken and prosecution opposed the bail application, given the reason that they have not finished with their investigation. However, the court granted A2 and A5 because they are lactating mothers with a sum of 1 million Ghana cedis with 3 sureties to be justified. And the court further ordered that we filed a formal application for bail. to be moved on the 22nd.
While a 6-month-old baby of the second accused was shown to the court, presiding judge Ifya Owusu Appiah noted that counsel for the lactating mothers are to provide proof of their assertion. The prosecution also indicated to the court that the Attorney General's office will take over the case docket after full investigations are concluded. Lodi Rosari, TV3 News, Accra.
Away from this trending case, the paramount chief of Esikadu traditional area, Nana Kobnan Ketia V, has reprimanded Parliament for failing to uphold the nation's decency and integrity. Speaking at a public event in Takoradi to commemorate the Fourth Republican Parliament's 30th anniversary, he argued that the legislature had failed to fulfill its responsibility to combat corruption.
This institution known as Parliament, for me, as an African, is more important than the other things they say, the executive and the judiciary. If Parliament has not said anything, forget the executive. You know, look at the COVID thing. That was done at the airport. Parliament should have probed. It's sitting down looking at me. We heard about the Ameri thing. What happened? Parliament didn't do nothing. You know, certain things, the spirit of the Constitution must be maintained by Parliament. But on the more interesting side with this, you wonder, you look at the parliamentary sittings and they are hollow. You ask yourself, where are the committees? Where are the discussions? And sometimes you think that they've been joking in Parliament. What are they taking serious about this country? You get a body of parliamentary people who say they don't want a minister. They make noise about it, and after they are all like dogs who have been clamped up. Who are these people? Do they deserve trouble? So we need to ask ourselves, what then? Are we going back to the same old thing? Now we've seen Niger. People are talking. Ghana has to show the lead because we are the black star. We are looking for creativity. It is not the priests and the malams who hold the morality of this country. It is Parliament. They hold our ethics and way of being. If Ghana is corrupt, then Parliament is not doing its duty. You all remember the story about this one big man carried money around to do, and everybody in Parliament was quiet. Why? Nobody probed. We can't sit down and go on like this. We want to feel we belong. We want to see their ethics are there. We want to be brothers with everybody. This Ghana, this space, created by God for us.
To one of our headline stories now, the minority in Parliament has questioned the basis for the ongoing construction of a new head office complex of the central bank amidst the country's economic challenges. The NDC at a news conference vowed to pressure the governor of the central bank and his deputies to resign over the 60 billion cedi loss in 2022 audit report. Now, Eric Maunaibeta reports.
Days after the Bank of Ghana parried suggestion governor must step down over the 60 billion cedis loss posted for 2022, the NDC minority say Dr. Ernest Anderson must step down. Ghanaians and experts alike have over the last 10 days struggled to wrap their heads around the 55 billion cedis negative equity recorded by the Bank of Ghana. That negative equity and the resulting losses, according to the NDC, makes the central bank governor and his deputies liable for prosecution.
The governor, in his address, had said that, as for him, he's done everything right, and we should blame it on Ken Ofori-Atta and Dr. Bawumia for asking him to write government debt of about 48 billion off. So it tells you that even without the write-off, the actions of the governor and his inactions has actually collapsed the central bank ahead of the domestic debt exchange.
The ongoing construction of a new BOG head office is indicative of the recklessness of the governor.
You are broke, you have actually collapsed the economy. The next thing you do is to award a $250 million project. Not hospital projects, not education project, not road project. The fastest going project in this country is the construction of Bank of Ghana. It means that this is deliberate. What will we do after the 21 days? They shouldn't try us. we have options. Like we always say, we are capable of deploying options that will get him out of office by force.
The clock is ticking and the wait on as to whether the NDC can force a man whose position is protected by the Constitution to leave office. Eric Mawena-Igbeta, TV3 News, Accra.
Let's head to Niger now, and tension is rising between ECOWAS and the junta in Niger after ECOWAS, AU and UN envoys were denied entry into the troubled country. Security analyst Dr. Victor Doke says the entrenched position taken by the military junta in Niger could trigger more sanctions on the country.
It's a clear indication that the junta is not standing down or backing down. Now, what can be done with regards to they receiving these emissaries was just to host them in a neighboring country or in neutral grounds where you can have an interactive resolution processes. But that didn't happen. So this clearly tells us, and it sends a message clearly to AU and ECOWAS that we, the junta, are not backing down. We are clear on our stance. Whether you like it or not, you take it or leave it. We are proceeding with what we have indicated to do, and that's take over, and we are going to rule per our own mandate and not any other mandate. That is what the junta has done with regards to their position now when you look at conflict resolution. Now, in crisis situations like this, you have sanctions, right? You call it a coercive force. You impose sanctions, and these sanctions are limited. Now, it could get severe. The sanctions could get severe based on the meeting coming up Thursday with the AU and ECOWAS security chiefs. And based on their stance, the sanctions could get even worse. So for the populace and the junta should clearly know that this is not coming to an end any soon. If they also take the stance they are taking now. Now, for the sanctions, it's clearly part of what ECOWAS will do as their mandate in conflict prevention, conflict management, and securing peace and ensuring democratic practices are enshrined. The sanctions are right. So for the junta, they better sit on a negotiation and mediation table and see a way forward. And that will be in their interest.
Now, still in Niger, the coup in Niger may be miles away from the Ghanaian jurisdiction, but the effect is already being felt at markets in the country, with up to 70 Ghanaian-bound onion-loaded trucks stuck at borders in the coup-riddled country. Traders say prices may double if no intervention comes. And Yunam Haliga visited the onion market at Ajenkotuku and reports.
Onions are an essential part of the preparations of meal as the urge to douse the burning flame of hunger in one's belly. But all that could be in jeopardy soon. That's because for all the onions seen here, a bulk of them come from coup-troubled Niger. With the political instability there, large trucks carting the essential ingredients have been left along the borders of Niger. This, according to experts, could have rippling effects on food inflation in the country. Ghana imports about $50 million worth of onions, with bulk coming from Niger. It became the fastest growing export market for onions from Niger, according to the trade markets in 2021 and 2022. Due to military takeover in Niger, the onion drivers stranded for days at the border. This follows sanctions by the ECOWAS, including the closure of land and air borders between ECOWAS countries and Niger. With 75 trucks stuck at the Benin and Burkina Faso border, the organizer of Accra Onion Importers Association, Sani Abubakar, says the prices of onion are expected to increase and possibly result in scarcity.
For now, we are at loss. We have a lot of our trucks being stuck at the border, some at Mali border and Burkina and Benin. So we are appealing to the government to intervene. If its care is not taken, we are going to sell one bag at 3,000.
Currently, a bag of onion is being sold between 1,300 cedis to 2,500 cedis, but previously sold for 1,000 cedis.
Onions are expensive now. When our customers come, they are unable to sell. It starts rotting and we throw them out. We are There is no onion for us to buy in bulk. We are pleading with the government to intervene.
Considering the situation, this may be an opportunity for Ghana to consider onion cultivation to boost the local production. And you now, Haliga, Ajay Kotoku.
Now to some more stories. Alcohol intake in Ghana has increased by 23% in the last 2 years, with youth aged 15 to 34 being the most prevalent, according to the civil society group Vision for Alternative Development Ghana. The Volta region has the highest male prevalence, while Upper West region has the highest female prevalence. A report by Grace Hamwa Ajiman.
Data from the Ghana Demographic and Health Survey indicate that the use of alcohol is prevalent among the youth between the ages of 15 to 34 years in Ghana. Volta region has the highest male prevalence of 42%, while Upper West region has the highest female prevalence rate of 37%. Advocates attribute this to the little control on the promotion, competition and popularity of alcoholic products.
The extent to which we see alcohol being spread within the community has increased. Any place you pass, any corner, you always find these blue kiosks. And what did they sell? It all has to do with alcoholic beverages, and it has no regulation whatsoever.
There have been calls for an imposition of taxes on alcoholic products to discourage consumption.
When prices are high, they think twice before buying it. So if you can imagine that a bottle of alcohol costs about 200 Ghana cedis, before you buy, you think twice before.
Ghana is currently reviewing its alcohol policy, the Public Health Act 851, to ensure proper legislation.
We have done the consultation together with the relevant agencies, FDA, Mental Health Authority, WHO, and the CSOs. And currently, we have a draft that has gone to the Office of the Attorney General. They have cleaned it up for us, and we have communicated officially to the Attorney General.
Other substances mostly abused by the youth in Ghana include cigarettes, cannabis and heroin.
Survivors of the Rwandan genocide say they are stunned by the UN judges who ruled that a war crime suspect should be considered for release and have his trial suspended indefinitely because he has dementia. Felician Kabuga, now in his late 80s, was one of the last suspects sought by the tribunal prosecuting crimes committed during the 1994. Now, he was arrested in France after 2 decades on the run and pleaded not guilty. Kabuga's age and health should not come into it. Philibert Gakwanzire of Rwanda Genocide Survivors Group, Ibuka, has said. And that's all for the 6 a.m. news here on TV3. My name is Judith Awache Tando. But of course, Roland is here with me with the rest of New Day. Good morning, Roland.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. And you?
I'm well as well.
What should we expect today?
I thought that story fascinated me. The story that was done from the onion market right here in Accra.
Right.
And I remember towards the latter part of last year, I did a documentary on the current economic issues we're experiencing now. At the time, they were at its peak or the heights, where Guta was even raising concerns. And if I remember vividly, I did some reviews of what the finance minister had said to be part of our imports from our import destinations. And they were in excess of some 10 billion, I mean total. Of course, food was over 2 billion. And when it comes to horticultural, as well as some vegetables that we tend to import, were within the ranges of some 100 and then 400 million. We should be worried about it. I don't know why we can't grow tomatoes all year round right here in Ghana or onions. You know, to the point that a coup in Niger would not have to affect onion sales, the prices, and then how they also tend to come into the market.
I'm really surprised, actually, because onions, I mean, of all the things in the world, we should be able to cultivate onions for ourselves. And I mean, these are common things. I don't know why this is going to be a problem that Niger's coup should affect us.
Right.
Well,
we'll see how it goes. We wish all the best for the day.
Thank you.
All right. Now, let's go through what we have for the morning. And then myself and Bella will take you for the next 4 hours on the issues that we want to discuss with you this morning. So we'll come with the This Morning segment and pose a question for you. But as always, we'll put the poster on the screen for you. And today we're asking what can be done to help keep nurses and doctors from leaving the country. And okay, so all right. So apart from the general concern about excessive migration of professionals from Ghana, but ordinary Ghanaians as well, it looks like the health sector, always bedeviled with this, seem now to be more repleted or visible of professionals who are leaving constantly. And if you speak to the Ghana Medical Association, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Council, they'll tell you why this is happening. It's just because the wages are low, they don't have good facilities to work with, etc. Now, should we be concerned particularly for the health sector? So today, we'll be taking a look at that for This Morning segment, where we